Renegade Index. First up, we've got a tweet from Prem seeker. Richard Branson is estimated to be worth $4 billion and has used tax havens to avoid taxes. Entities like Virgin Healthcare have paid no corporation tax on £2 billion. NHS deals. Now he wants UK taxpayers to bail out Virgin Atlantic. Say no. Let him use his own wealth. Next from Not Bill Murray. Let me break this down for you. The coronavirus bailouts for corporations will cost $18,000 per citizen. Washington, D.C. is taking $18,000 from you and your family to give to the wealthiest corporations and giving you a $1,200 check in return. Hashtag socialism for the rich. And finally, we have Francesca Martinez. In times of crisis, the rich, Branson, Bezos, Tim Martin, etc., look to the state for handouts. Profits are always privatized and losses are borne by taxpayers. It's socialism for the rich and capitalism for the rest. They love socialism. They just don't want us all to have it. And just for clarity, that is exactly the same Richard Branson who successfully sued the British NHS in 2017. Michael, really good to have you back on Renegade Inc.
It's good to be here.
Could you just give us a snapshot into what you're seeing in New York? I know that you're in quarantine at the moment. You're holed up in your bunker. Just give us an idea of what it's like over there.
Well, I'm in the epicenter of the epicenter, according to the governor of New York. I'm in Queens, in Forest Hills, right next to Elmhurst, where on television they're showing lines of 8 hours long in the rain of people trying to get tested for coronavirus in the Elmhurst Public Hospital. It's a disaster area there. They show the refrigerator truck backed up to take out the corpses. They're wheeling them out of the hospital because there are no ventilators here. The doctors don't have masks, and they're making them out of their own clothes. The stores are pretty much closed down. Most of the restaurants are closed. And on the street, people pretty much make a wide circle around each other to make sure they stay 5 or 6 feet away. But nobody has masks available.
Isn't it incredible? I think he is sometimes referred to as the sage of Omaha. Warren Buffett said, you only see who is swimming naked when the tide goes out. Seems to me that this crisis has meant that the whole tide has gone out on the US, and it's very clear who's swimming naked. And I'd put at the top of that list the president and the political class.
It's not only the U.S., it's a philosophy of corporate management that people are taught in business schools. And if you're, what's taught is the Walmart theory of inventory control, just-in-time inventory. If you're dealing with food or toilet paper or something, the idea is that you only need enough just for about 1 or 2 days so that you can keep every little bit of your capital free of inventory and only operate on a minimum. Well, that works for stores and for grocery stores and for a lot of different products, but it doesn't work for basic public infrastructure or health. The whole idea in health is that instead of having a steady consumer rise, you have spikes, and you have spikes when there's a pandemic like there is today. And so a public sector should have something in abeyance to hold. Now, for instance, right now you can see the exponential growth of coronavirus in New York. That's led the governor, Cuomo, to say, well, we're going to need 35,000, 100,000 ventilators in about 3 or 4 weeks because there's a doubling time of the coronavirus every 2.5 days in New York.
What am I going to do with 400 ventilators when I need 30,000? You pick the 26,000 people who are going to die because you only sent 400 ventilators.
Trump came in, who doesn't like the governor because they haven't liked each other since they met in New York City 3 decades ago. Trump says, look, New York has all of these unused ventilators. Here's some ventilators. Look, we found there are 10,000 in a hospital not being, in the warehouse not being used.
Hospitals, frankly, individual hospitals and hospital chains. We have them hoarding equipment, including ventilators. We have to release those ventilators, especially hospitals that are never going to use them. They have to release them.
Well, the governor said, of course, they're not being used now. They're going to be needed in 2 weeks when the exponential growth occurs. And Trump says, no, you only need them a day before you order them. So Trump's management philosophy, and this is the philosophy taught in the business schools just in time, is guaranteed to create a rolling crisis that's going to get worse and worse. And this philosophy, I'm sure, is what Europeans who come to America and study in the business schools are taught. And it's not how to handle the public sector. And of course, Trump says, we don't want a public sector at all. And when this is over, there's not going to be a public sector because the cities are going to have such low tax revenues. They're not getting the tax revenues from the stores. They're not getting it from the people. They're having huge responsibilities to pay unemployment insurance. They're going to have to privatize all sorts of whatever is left in the public domain, from transportation to parks. And this is going to make the American economy into a grab bag. And Trump says, we're going to come out of this wonderfully. The stock market's going to go greatly. So the whole coronavirus in this country is managed. How can we make it to increase the stock market? The governor of Texas, for instance, said, look, we should really just go back to work. A lot of people will get sick. The elderly people are most prone to dying as a result of the virus. They should take it on the chin and sacrifice it for the economy. They should they should die so that the economy can get back to work and the stock market can go up. The neoliberals have applauded this, and the Democrats have been absolutely silent about it. Not a word from Biden, not even a word from Bernie Sanders.
Why aren't they coming out at this time attacking that idea because of the absurdity and the inhumanity within it, and saying, hang on, this is not what we want?
Well, what you call inhumanity does not put, you're not putting the stock market first. And Donald Trump says the measure of his success will be how he can recover the economy, by which he means the stock and the bond market.
But why then isn't he talking about the real economy? Because he can sign as many S&P 500 charts as he wants, but ultimately, if he's starving or letting the real economy wither on the vine, ultimately, what's the point of it all?
The point of it all is not the real economy. Look at the $10 trillion package that he, with unanimous Democratic support, passed through Congress.
Let's call it a bailout. It's not a package, it's a bailout.
Yes, and they call it a coronavirus law, but it's really only $2 trillion of that $10 trillion is about what you call the real economy and the people. $2 trillion indeed is going to go for unemployment insurance, a giveaway of $1,200 to each American family.
So what happens to the other $8 trillion?
That will be given to the large corporations, to the banks. $5 trillion will be given to the banks to lend the money to the large corporations to buy out the small companies that are going to go under as a result of the slowdown in the austerity resulting from the 3 months of close down of the economy caused by the coronavirus. It's not simply the close down of economy. While the economy isn't doing business, while the restaurants are closed and the stores are closed and people are laid off, all of their rent is due. All of their credit card money is due. Their student loans are due. Their mortgages are due. And all of this debt is accumulated. So let's look now 3 months hence. Let's look at what's going to happen in June and July.
Right.
All of this money is going to come through, but the Federal Reserve has said 1/2 of Americans can't raise $400 in a crisis. All of a sudden, this money is going to fall due in 3 months. And the governor of New York can say, okay, there's a moratorium. You can't evict anybody for 3 months. But after 3 months, the eviction notices are going to come. The homelessness problem is going to rise. And the real economy is going to be sacrificed to the financial sector.
Ultimately, where does this end? Because if in 12 weeks' time people can't afford to enter into the social norms, enter into the economy, live, put bread on the table, where does that logically finish?
With the American economy looking pretty much like Greece.